And welcome back to the math party, my party people. Anderson here, your math coach. And what we're going to do now is go over two-step equations now. So remember, at the end of the day, we want to remember these same principles. Solving equations, it's the art of working backwards. And number two, when it comes to solving equations, you want to make sure you're doing the same thing to both sides in every step. As long as you remember those two things, you're going to put yourself in a great position to succeed here. So with that said, let's go ahead and start off with this first problem here. We have 81 equals 4a plus 9. So I'm going to go and write it out over here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how I like to observe this, and I like to think about it. That way I understand what steps come first, second, third, etc. So I'm taking a look here. 81 equals 4a plus 9. The goal is to get that a by itself, right? So what's happening around the a? I'm going to use different colors here to kind of mark what's going on. I see that, again, my goal is to get a by itself. What's going on around it? I see that immediately the a is being multiplied by 4. And then right after, we see that the 4a, after we do that, we have plus 9. So look at those boxes that I just drew. When you're looking at these boxes that I just drew, really just take a look. From the inside out, like if I knew what number a was, like if a was 5 or 10 or 15 or 20, whatever the heck it is, notice what I would do is I would say, hey, look, I would multiply by 4. And then whatever that is, then I would add 9, right? Order of operations, we're going to multiply first and then add. But here's the thing, and let me go ahead and kind of write this out for you because this is going to be pretty interesting. If we're working forward, notice it again. We first multiply by 4 right there. We see that we're multiplying by 4. And then the next step is going to be you would add 9. And again, this is if you knew what the variable was, that's what you would be doing. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know what the variable is. We're trying to figure that out. And so to work backwards, look at what's going to happen. And I'm going to show this here with this first problem, and then I'm going to basically map it out for the next problems to show you exactly how to get it done. So here, again, the last thing we would do is add 9. So I got to figure out, well, what am I supposed to do to get rid of a plus 9? Well, the backwards operation is subtract 9. So that's exactly what I'll do first. I'll subtract 9, and remember, we got to do it to both sides. So if I go ahead and do that, booyah, this is going to cancel out right here. And we see that 81 minus 9 is going to be 72. So we got 72 equals 4a right now. Okay, all we did was got rid of that 9 on the right side. So if you take a look at this, remember, the idea is to work backwards. So allow me to basically move all of this over just a little bit. And I'm going to show you again that what we're doing is really working backwards. Look, if we knew what a was, we would multiply by 4, then add 9. Working backwards, what we're doing is the first step was subtract 9. And look at what's going to happen now. We got 72 equals 4a. So if I'm checking this out, well, how do I get rid of 4 on that a? Well, what's happening is it's being multiplied like we said. So to work backwards, we would divide that 4 out. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'll divide the 4 on both sides, and that's going to cancel it out here. But remember, what I just did was I divided by 4. And so with that said, here we go. What's a going to be? Well, that's going to be 72 divided by 4. What is 72 divided by 4? If you needed to do that with long division, sure, go ahead. If you wanted to use mental math, sure, go ahead. I've taught you both techniques. It's all good. So 4 goes into 7 one time. Subtract that 4, you get 3. Bring down that 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times. And so you got yourself 18. So, boom, A equals 18. But that's not the important part. Like, yeah, the answer is going to be 18. Yeah, it's going to be D here, whatever. But what I want to show you is this right here. So when we take a look, you can actually map out your steps, honestly, before you even begin the problem. And you can tell exactly what the steps are going to be, so you know that you're on the right path. So just observe. Again, notice. We subtracted 9 on both sides first, and then we divided 4 on both sides. That's the exact opposite of what would have happened if we knew what A was. Remember, if we knew what A was, multiply by 4 first, then add that 9 at the end. Working backwards, you start at that step, that last step, do the opposite. Subtract 9, then divide 4. Subtract 9, and then divide 4. That's exactly what we did. We just went backwards. That's all we did. We worked backwards. So let's go ahead and just observe what that's going to look like here in another problem. So let me go ahead and give us, let's go ahead and say something, let's say something like, because these are all different types of problems, but I want to show you something like this one here again with a similar kind of sentiment, and then we're going to go into those different types of questions as well. I'm going to work through plenty of problems here, so stay tuned all the way through because there's so many different types that you're going to see. But as long as, again, you know how to work backwards from the order of operations, you're going to be good to go. Hey, learn more about how you can get all of my classes, all of my practice problems with video solutions, and all of my study guides, practice tests, flashcard sets. Oh, and by the way, the ability to text me whenever you need help. Go ahead and learn about my ASVAB All-Access Program. Click the link in the description here, or shoot me a text at 567-698-8867 to learn more about it. Again, I'm Coach Anderson. Let's learn more, and let's ace the ASVAB. So here we go. We have -9 equals 9n plus 9. That's a lot of 9s. But let's go ahead and map this out for ourselves, man. Here we go. -9 equals 9n plus 9. So what I notice is that, look, my objective is to get that n by itself, right? I want to get that n by itself. Well, what's happening currently with the n is it's being multiplied by 9, and then we got ourselves adding 9. So again, working forward, what I notice, working forward, let me use green here. Working forward, what I see is that the first step was multiply by 9 and then add 9. So multiply by 9, then add 9. So working backwards, what I'm going to do to both sides is this. Working backwards, I'm going to do the opposite of this, subtract 9, the opposite of that, divide by 9. That's exactly what my steps are going to be. Again, as long as you know the forward steps, you can work backwards nice and easy. And so here's the mental math behind it, but then I'm actually going to show you all of it. I'm going to do the mental math, but I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. So to get rid of the 9 here, subtract 9. So that'll be -18. Then you divide by 9. So -18 divided by 9, that's -2. So the answer should be A. Again, that was mentally, but if you're not there yet, don't worry. Let me go ahead and walk you through. So here, the first step I'm going to take is I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9 on both sides. So once I do that, that's going to cancel out here on the right side. And here we have -9 minus 9. So you're already negative, and then you're going more negative. So if you're already negative going more negative, that's the same thing as adding those numbers. 9 plus 9 is 18, and keeping it negative. So we have ourselves -18 equals 9n. And then from there, we notice that we have, again, 9 times n. What's the opposite of multiplying by 9? Dividing by 9. And so what I'll do to both sides here is divide both sides by 9. And I get myself over here, canceling out. N equals 18 divided by 9 is 2. A negative divided by a positive, that is a negative. So the answer here, like I said, -2. So again, my party people, what I'm trying to show you is this. Solving equations is the art of working backwards. When it comes to equations where there's only one variable on one side, you can map it out in your head and do it a lot quicker than actually writing it all down. Like I said right here. But again, if you're not quite there, don't worry. If you're not quite there, don't worry. Let's keep getting some practice in. Let me show you some more unique problems. So let's go ahead and get into, let's say, number 2. So let's take a look at number 2 over here. We have ourselves 26 equals 8 minus 3k. So a lot of us may be looking at this and we're thinking, yo, that minus 3k, I don't like that negative there on the variable. Don't worry, take it one step at a time. So my goal right over here is this. I want to get the k by itself, right? I want to get the k by itself. So what's happening immediately to the k? Well, what's happening immediately to the k is that we're subtracting 3k. So basically what that means is you're multiplying k by -3. That's what that means. You're multiplying k by -3. And then there just so happens to be a random 8 right there. So we've talked about this in the previous video. Remember, this is a continuation of the last video. We've talked about this. If there's just a number sitting there, you can assume that the number is being added. Or if it was a -8, then you can assume it's being subtracted. But here we see a +8 just sitting there, and we can treat that like 8 is being added into that equation. So how do we get rid of the 8? Well, how do you get rid of a +8? If it's just sitting there, subtract the 8. Take it away. That's the easiest way to think about it. So I'm going to take away 8 on both sides here, And once I do that, I got myself 26 minus 8. That's going to go ahead and be 18. And then we still have that negative 3 that we had before, the negative 3k. Now, lastly, what's my last step? Well, again, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, yo, this is not subtracting 3. This is a negative 3 multiplied with the k. Again, that's a negative 3 being multiplied with the k. How do I get rid of a multiplication of negative 3? Remember, you're doing the opposite operations. Not opposite signs, it's opposite operations. Be very careful there. So, to get rid of a negative 3 times k, I would divide by negative 3. Because negative 3 is being multiplied, work backwards, and divide it. So if I divide both sides by negative 3, what do I get? Well, that's going to cancel out on that right side. And on the left side, what do we get? Well, first things first, take care of the sign, then take care of the numbers. Split it up so you don't have to think about all that at the same time. 18 divided by 3, that's going to be 6. And then a positive divided by a negative, that's going to be a negative right there. And so we have ourselves negative 6 as our answer, and that will be D in this case. So again, my party people, look, we've got to take it one step at a time while we learn this and while we practice. Let me take a look at another type of question for you right over here. So here's another one of a similar example, and then I'm going to go into an even more complicated example coming up. If you're struggling with the ASVAB, then it might be time to check out my ASVAB All-Access Program. It has all of my classes and the recordings, all the practice problems that you ever need, and you can text me whenever you need help. So there's much more to it, but feel free to click the link right here in this video or in the description that tells you a lot more about the program, and there's a video explaining how it all works. If you have any questions, I'm Coach Anderson. Find my contact info and reach out to me if you have any. Let's get to it and let's ace the ASVAB. But we have negative 1 equals negative 1 minus 6k. Okay, so allow me to write this out here. Okay, so here's what we've got, my party people. What I'm going to show you here is that, look, what I see is that, hey, I'm trying to get the k by itself. What's immediately happening with it? It's being multiplied by negative 6. And then there's a negative 1 just sitting there at the end. Again, you want to know, hey, look, if I'm working forward with the order of operations, what would I be seeing? That way you can see how to work backwards. So here, it's k just sitting there. It's multiplied by negative 6. And then we'll subtract 1. Okay, sounds good. So work backwards here, work outside in, break the box down from the outside in, and what do I see? I see that the first step I need to take is going to be add 1 to both sides. If I do that, well, then I'll get rid of that minus 1 on that right side. Bam, gone. So I have myself negative 6k on the right side. But what do I have on the left side? Oh, a negative 1 plus 1, they're the same numbers, opposite operations. Those cancel out. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. That's going to be 0. And so what's my last step? Well, here my last step is going to be to get rid of that negative 6. So the operation is that we're dealing with a negative 6 times k. So what I'll do is I'll divide both sides by negative 6, and I'll give myself an easier time because it's going to cancel it out on the right side. And what we know is that 0 divided by anything is still going to be 0. 0 divided by anything is still going to be 0. And so we're good. We're fine. That's going to be k equals 0. And that's why here C would be the answer. Nice and easy. And so with that said, my party people, this is the first of 2 videos that I'm going to show you here when it comes to solving 2-step equations. Now I'm going to show you in the next video where we're going to be dealing with, hey, what if we have fractions? What if we have fractions? What do we do? There's 2 main types of problems that include fractions with equations, and I'm going to show you how to deal with both. So for right now, look forward to that next video. That way you can go ahead and understand those more complicated ones, and then from there, tackle the worksheet, tackle the speed drills if you're in the program or course. That way you can get your groove going. Again, I'm Anderson, your math coach, always proud to be so, and I'll see you in the next video.